All right, the keynote presentation tonight, buying houses for pennies on the dollar, talking about wholesaling, talking about some of the different strategies that we use as real estate investors. Wholesaling is usually considered a beginner strategy. That's what a lot of people who are just getting started in real estate want to focus on. Why do they want to focus on wholesaling? Well, they want to focus on wholesaling because there's very little or no barriers to entry, right? You don't have to have a big amount of money saved up to be able to buy one of these $400,000 houses that are in the Austin area, right? You don't have to have a lot of experience because ultimately you're not going to end up closing on that property. You just have to have the ability to do the marketing, to be able to find these deals. You have to have the ability to put it under contract. How many pages is the contract that we use here in Texas?
One.
It's 40. It's 10. Who said 1? Oh my gosh. No, if you are using a one-page contract, let me just say, you are wrong, okay? One-page contract will get you in a lot of trouble, okay? You're probably downloading that from somebody on the internet. That's wonderful. It's easy, yes, it's incredibly easy, but it's going to miss something that the tract contract that we use covers. So the tract contract is written by a broker lawyer committee, and they update that contract about once every 2 years based on the new case law, right? Based on the new lawsuits that have come up surrounding that tract contract, right? So every time they make it stronger, they make it longer, they make it cover something that had not previously covered, okay? Currently that contract is 10 pages long. Now to some of you guys that may sound intimidating and say, well, I'm gonna go back to the one-page contract. But again, one-page contract, think of it like an insurance policy. Think of it like a hospital gown. Covers most of you. It doesn't cover all of you, right? So as long as you're facing this way, everything's good. But if you go sideways and there's a strong wind, right, something might not work out exactly the way you want it to, right? But with that tract contract, guess what? It covers everything, everything. And most real estate investors, once they get comfortable with it, they want the one that covers everything. Now, 10 page does sound intimidating, but it's kind of Mad Libs style. So who of you guys have done Mad Libs, right, as a kid, right? It's fill in the blank, and they give you context clues, right? Put a dollar amount here, here's a dollar sign, right? Put a date here, here's a date. Put your initials here, put your signature here. So it does kind of walk you through it. Now, the first time, if you're unfamiliar with some of the basic terms about real estate, you'll probably mess something up. Don't worry, you can take it to your title company and say, hey, can you look this over for me? Because this is the first time I filled it out. And they'll tell you the things that you did wrong, right? Because they don't want to clean it up after you get it under contract. So you do have to be fairly proficient in not just understanding it and filling it out, but also explaining it to the homeowner that you're buying a house from, right? So a lot of people think it's easy to be a wholesaler. It's a great beginner strategy. It's no risk, and all these things are true. But you do have to be really good at marketing, getting those calls from those motivated homeowners, those motivated sellers. You have to be really good at negotiating, figuring out what to purchase it for, and we'll go through the real estate investor maximum allowable offer formula as part of this presentation. And you have to be really good at figuring out how to write up a contract and put something under contract.
Is that contract assignable? So you can assign it to
the tract contract, the way it is written, nowhere in the tract contract does it say this contract is not assignable.
Excellent.
So the attorneys who have reviewed it, and there's many articles written about it, have said, as a result, it is an assignable contract. Now that being said, many buyers will write on for the buyer section their name or the company name and or assigns to make it abundantly clear. But again, because there's nothing in there that says it's prohibited as part of the transaction, yes, no, you absolutely can do that, 100%. Yes, sir?
And I'm a realtor, so what's the difference between writing a contract for an offer and writing a contract for a wholesale?
Sure, so how many of you guys in the room are realtors? Okay, we've got two realtors in the room. So not the last version of the tract contract, but the version before, they put something on page 1 for realtors. So on page 1, I think it's item section number 4, it says, are you a realtor and are you party to this transaction? Meaning, are you a buyer or are you a seller, or do you own a company and own maybe at least 10% or more interest in the company? And is that person, is that you? Are you also a licensed realtor? And if the answer is yes, then you put in that section that you are a licensed realtor, you put your license information there. So that's number 1. Number 2, what do we as realtors always do whenever we're talking to someone, we're having a first substantive conversation? We give a disclosure, right? So that's the information about brokerage services form, right? That's number 1. We have them sign that, we keep that in our files. We also give them the consumer protection notice that basically says, hey, if we screw anything up, here's who you call, and they're gonna interview us.
So technically, my broker will be held accountable.
So no. Okay, so if you bought a property, if you put a property under a contract that was on the MLS, and there's a listing agent there, and you put your name for the buyer's agent, as an example, representing yourself, then yes, you're bringing your broker into that transaction. But if you are just the buyer, you're not necessarily bringing your broker into that transaction, okay? But let me say this. When you signed up with your broker, you signed an independent contractor agreement.
Correct.
Yes, okay? And then you signed probably a 1 or 2 page or 3 page or however many page addendum to that agreement that said, here's how we do things right at our brokerage company. So you need to go through the addendum that says, here's how we do things at our brokerage company, because there's no hard and fast rules about what you can and can do. Every broker makes their own rules about what you can and cannot do. Does that answer your question? We have another realtor in the room. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I mean, you covered most of it.
Okay, is there anything I missed that you want to make? Okay.
No.
Yes, sir.
When you buying property that's listed, and you go without a buyer broke, is there savings there that you can take advantage of, or is the listing broker likely just to get a double commission?
It depends.
I mean,
So
how do they typically write
the
those listing
listing
agreements?
agreement is between the owner and the listing agent. Okay? In that agreement, typically, right, the listing, the owner will say, I'm going to pay you, the listing agent, a 6% commission. And then in that listing agreement, it says, well, how are you going to split that 6% commission? And you say, well, I'm going to take 3% for myself, as an example, and I'm going to give 3% to whoever brings me a buyer. Okay? Now, some agents will say, you're unrepresented, we're going to sign an intermediary agreement, as an example, and I'm going to take the full 6% commission. Okay? Other agents will say, if you go to them and you say, I'm reducing my price by 3% to account for the fact that I'm not going to be bringing an agent, you won't have to pay another agent. Some agents, some listing agents will say, hey, I'm only going to charge you a 3% commission for this. Others will say somewhere in between 3 to 6% to account for someone who might not know what they're doing, who needs to be walked through the entire process, and an increase of liability for that listing agent's side. Some people might take your offer minus the 3% and still go back and ask for 6%. All of these things are negotiable, wonderfully enough. So ask and find out where their head is at, just in general, before you make your ultimate offer. Yeah? Yes, sir.
If an investor happens to be a realtor and they sign a purchase agreement with a seller, do they have to disclose that they're a realtor just because it's a,
100%.
I mean, even though they're making that contract assignable?
100%.
Yeah?
Yes, without question. You're putting your name on that contract. Yes, no, there's section 4 of the truck contract asks you, are you a realtor, yes or no?
So, I mean, the reason I'm curious of that is because, I mean, if you're assigning that contract, you're really not, there's not any transaction.
But you have not yet assigned that contract. Yeah, no, guaranteed you gotta disclose, period, without question. It's simple, easy disclosure.
Yeah.
Very easy disclosure. You just write on the first page of the truck contract, give them information about broker services, you give them the consumer protection notice.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody use a trust as a buyer on this kind of thing?
Most people, not all, but most people use an LLC or a series LLC. With the new tax code, depending on how many properties you're investing in, some investors might now, with the new tax code, be using an S corp. Okay. I'm not an attorney, CPA, or financial advisor. Okay, just want to make sure that's out there. Okay, yes, ma'am.
How many copies of the contract should you have?
All the copies.
I mean, out of the 10-page copy, how many should you have?
How many should you give them?
Yes.
You should
How
give
many
them,
should you
you should
have?
give them a copy, you should keep a copy for yourself, ideally. When you take it to the title company, what they're going to do though, so usually what I would do, one contract, okay? I would take that contract the next day to the title company, and then what does the title company do? Scans it, emails it out to all parties. So I don't know that I would take the time to fill out multiple contracts while you're there. I think that would be laborious, and you'd be surprised at the number of sellers who are like, I don't want to go through this, right? Because there's a lot of initial sign, et cetera.
Does anybody have access to these contracts?
Everyone has access to these contracts. You have to Google TREC, T-R-E-C. So there are four, once you get to TREC, you're going to click on forms, very straightforward. And there are about 39 different forms, contracts, addendums, disclosures, terminations, etc. If you are purchasing, and there are four contracts, okay? There's one contract for called a 124 family contract. That's what you use for single family investing. There's an unimproved property contract for just a basic lot. There's a condo townhouse contract for townhouses. And then there's a new build contract for a property that is a brand new and expanding construction.
Aside of the contract, do you need the seller to sign an addendum that, you're gonna sign it, or once the contract is, you just assign it to the buyer?
Absolutely, yeah. Now, is it smart to let the seller know that you're going to be assigning it
Yes.
as upfront as possible? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because if you surprise them at the end of the day, sometimes their feathers get a little ruffled, and not always, but sometimes, right? So I would let them know as upfront as possible as you can.
And do you have to give them any kind of money to make that contract enforceable? As part of the due diligence or something?
I'll get to that in a second, so we'll talk both about earnest money, which is on the contract, and we'll talk about option money, which is on the contract. There are two schools of thought on earnest money. I would say that 99% of realtors would say you have to have some earnest money. 1% of investors, 1% of realtors in the know, and probably about 50% of investors in the know would say, I actually don't have to give earnest money. Okay. You have to close with the right title company who will defend your position if that's the case. So the earnest money goes to the title company.
Correct.
The option money goes to the seller. The option money is what allows you to terminate your contract in the event that you find out that, for whatever reason, during your option period, that you do not want to close, okay? Also, as part of the TREC forms, there's something called a termination of contract agreement, okay? You can terminate within your option period, just fill out this form, send it off to the seller. You don't have to use this form. I recommend you use this form because it kind of spells everything out. Okay? Yeah? TREC. T-R-E-C. You also have to be really good at doing your analysis and due diligence. What does this mean? That means you have to be really good at figuring out what this property is worth. You have to be really good at figuring out what the repairs are needed to get it at that value, at that dollar amount. By mastering these wholesaling skills, right, you'll master the basics, which you'll need to ultimately graduate to many of the other strategies that we use as real estate investors. Some of the benefits to the investor, who's the wholesaler: practically no barriers to entry, the ultimate zero money down strategy. Phil and I are not the make money with no money people, it's so easy, we're not those people, okay? But this is the one strategy that if you go here tonight on a bus, guess what? You can make money doing this as a real estate investor. No matter, I mean, as long as you have earnest money and option money, right? You only need very little money to do that, but it's a great zero cash strategy. Generates quick cash, all the reward, none of the risk. Found it if you're only in the deal long enough to actually get paid. You get experience without taking on any of the risk of the remodel. Who in here has gotten a permit with the city of Austin in the last few years? Any of you? It's nightmarish, right? So you don't have to deal with that. I'll tell you, we just got through building and selling some houses in central Austin recently. And when we were tapping into the sewer line, the city gave us a drawing of where they said the sewer tap was and how we could tap in. And it looked like my 5-year-old person with a Crayola drew this thing, like literally an X marks the spot sort of a thing. So we go in to tap in, and guess what we find?
Nothing.
It's not there. So what does the city say?
Go find it.
No.
Need a permit
No, you need a permit for the whole thing. Yeah, you need a permit for the whole thing. Well, gosh, it's not there. Well, that means you're going to add another $20,000 to your project. Yes. Welcome to investing in the city of Austin. Okay, it is scary, frightening, and not cheap. Okay, so
you have to do it yourself?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I mean, two people are shaking their head right now. It's easy to shake because their wallet's like $10,000 lighter, right? And stuff happens, right? You go and you get a permit with the city of Austin and you say, well, I'm going to do this one little thing, and what does the city of Austin say? It's like inviting a vampire into your house, right? It's like, they're going to say, well, hey, I know you only wanted to do the air conditioning, but this electrical panel will have this whole house electricity. This needs to be updated. So what do they just do? They increase your budget. They just increase your budget. It's pronounced, you're welcome. We're from the government. We're here to help, right? So something to be aware of when you're dealing with the city. And that's why, again, being a wholesaler, you get all of the rewards, but you don't take on any of the risk. And I will say too, having the deal generates the opportunity to network and to partner up. Nothing will make you a magnet to other people like already having a deal and selling that deal. Everyone wants to be your friend. The benefits the buyer who ultimately gets it, man, they just get that great deal, and they don't have to do any of the legwork, any of the marketing, any of the talking, any of the negotiating, any of that stuff. They just get to close on it and start their HGTV show after that point. We'll go through some of the 12 steps tonight as we go through the presentation, so I'm going to break all of these down individually as we go through. First off is the marketing, right? If you are a wholesaler and if you are not doing marketing, then let me tell you, you are not a wholesaler. You have to be doing marketing to be able to find these different deals, to be able to find these leads. I've got several of the different marketing strategies listed here. We start with some of the lower cost marketing strategies, and then we get into mass media, radio, TV, billboards, some of the higher cost marketing strategies, and then we get into some of the direct mail lists, also some of the higher cost marketing strategies. Marketing is a problem that we have to solve. There's two ways to solve the marketing problem. You either throw time, energy, and effort at it, or you throw money at it, okay? If you don't throw either of those things on it, you're not going to have a viable business at all. Think about Coca-Cola. Has anyone in here heard of Coca-Cola? Has everyone in here, has anyone, so let me ask, because I know you guys aren't going to raise your hand. So I gotta have it like create like a double negative. Has anyone in here not heard of Coca-Cola? So that means all of you guys have heard of Coca-Cola. Yes, we all agree. Okay. So Coca-Cola, who we all know, what do they spend every minute, every second, every minute of every hour of every day in every language in every country doing? Advertising, also known as marketing, right? So if one of the biggest companies in the world that we all know has to spend all this time doing marketing, what do you think that your little video company has to do? That would be called marketing, right? So after you do the marketing, you will get a call from a homeowner. What are you going to do when you get that call?
Screen them, make sure they're motivated.
So something has happened with the do not call list. Does it happen to everybody in here? Like I'm getting calls now from my area, not just my area code, but they also have the first 3 digits of my same phone number.
Have you got them from your own phone number yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm calling you now.
Yeah.
I'm marketing to me.
You can call
I'm doing
yourself.
marketing. Winning. So that's freaking me out. Lisa, thank you for that. Well, I appreciate that because then now I won't be as freaked out because you told me about that. All right, so you do marketing. So the thing is, because we're getting all of these freaky calls, what are we not doing anymore these days? We're not answering our phones anymore. So I do this little thing that I have an iPhone. I don't know if you guys who have Androids have it too. But I always just, if I don't recognize the number, I always just send them, I always just click on the button, can I call you later? And then, do you guys do that? And then I know if it's a real person, because I know if it's not a real person, because if it's not a real person, I'll get a text message error immediately back, and I'm like, yep, that was a spam call, right? But if you are doing marketing and you are a real estate investor, guess what? You're going to be answering calls from yourself, you're going to be answering calls from telemarketers, you're going to be answering calls from everyone. Why is that? Because in this case, if you've done the marketing, then that money is calling you, right? You have to pick up the phone when money calls. You have to answer the call at that point.
What about cold calling? Sorry, you didn't mention it here, and I know Phil didn't mention it either. So what do you think about cold calling? Actually picking up
So who are you calling?
the leads that you can find, either drive for dollars and then skip.
100%. 100%, yeah.
Okay.
Armchair investing is a thing, and it's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
When you do cold
But you're
calling,
getting it from a list, so that's why I listed all of those lists up there.
Okay.
Yeah. So how you contact people from those lists could be postcard, could be letter, could be door knocking, could be going there, leaving something in the door, could be calling, could be any of those things. Yeah. Yes, sir.
when you do cold calling on this side of marketing, do you use your cell phone number or do you have a specific phone number?
I'm gonna use mine.
Even with bandy signs, knowing that you have to
With banded signs, I'm going to use a different phone number. But don't use Google Voice, and here's why. It's changed over the years. So, since I've been investing for 15 years, I'm going to sound like I'm 100, but I say, get a throwaway phone, right? Then Google Voice came out, and I sound like 100 years old, so I said, yeah, I'll get a Google Voice phone. But if you're putting out bandit signs, what does the city of Austin have to say about bandit signs?
They're prohibited violation.
They're prohibited, right? So who's also going to call you besides yourself? Besides all these, telemarketers, right?
Code
Besides yourself,
enforcement.
this code enforcement will call you. So, guess what? Google will give you up.
Really?
Yes, they will. And I have seen the letters from Google saying, oh, we're giving you up.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Oh, yes. So now I'm back to throwaway cell phones. Yeah? So I will say, something else you need to know if you are considering marketing using bandit signs, hold my calls. Is it you calling you? Good answer. The only thing that we do not want you to brand, as a realtor, you want to brand everything, right? The only thing that we don't want you to brand are your bandit signs. Why is that? You don't want those code enforcement people to find you,
Yeah.
right?
There's a reason they call them bandit signs.
Yes. So sales negotiation, after you get the call, you'll set up an appointment to see the house, you'll conduct the interview, find out the motivation and the reason for selling, find out the condition of the repairs that are needed on the property, and express your interest in buying, whether you think you're going to make it work or not, okay? When you're trying to figure out the condition of the property, what question do you ask? Is it livable?
How long ago was the roof
Do
repaired?
write this down. Never ask the question, is it livable? Never do that.
You're gonna offend them.
No, you're not going to offend them, but is livability subjective?
Yeah.
Oh, completely, right? Completely. So don't ask that question, right? Because they're going to say yes. And it's funny because I'll tell you, I remember a house that I sold, probably 12 years ago. And there was someone who was living in the house. And I was representing the buyer who was another investor who was gonna buy it and then build onto it and remodel it and later sell it. And the bank who was financing it says, well, this property is what a bank calls uninhabitable. What does that mean? It's not livable, even though, well, hold on, somebody's living there. So like, how do these things go together? So livability is not a thing. What do you ask them instead? Does it have, no!
Is there someone
It's falling apart.
Is it occupied?
No, somebody's starting to say it.
Is it occupied?
No?
When was the last time you remodeled or updated or something?
We have a checklist to fill out,
When?
disclosure checklist, saying, here's,
I'm gonna tell you right here.
When was the last time you updated or?
When was the last time you replaced the roof? When was the last time you replaced the electrical? When was the last time you updated the plumbing? When was the last time you remodeled the kitchen? When was the last time you remodeled the bathroom? Is that an objective question or is that a subjective question? Subjective question. Can you put together, if you're looking at the comps, right, you should be looking at the comps when they call you. You're looking at the comps and you're saying that all of the properties that are in that neighborhood have my favorite colors, granite and stainless steel. And if they tell you that they haven't updated the kitchen in 20 years, right, what do you know about that property? It needs a new kitchen. They tell you that it hasn't been painted in 10 years. What do you know? It needs some new paint. Same with carpet, right? They tell you they haven't had the roof replaced in 5 years. What do you know? It's probably still a pretty good roof, right? Unless there's been a hailstorm, and there's other strategies for that too. Right? They tell you it was built in the 1970s. What do you want to know if they replaced the electrical? Yes, you do, right? Because what are you looking for? Copper versus aluminum wiring. So asking them over and over again, when was the last time you insert item here? When was the last time you got a new water heater? All of these things will give you indication of what the repairs are needed on that property. You'll need to get a CMA. You'll need to have an investor-friendly realtor on your team. Apparently, there are 2 investor-friendly realtors that are in the room tonight. We usually have about 5 to 10% of our meeting are other realtors or brokers. So get your numbers from an investor-friendly realtor. They'll give you a CMA on that property. Do not use Zillow. Do not use Trulia. In fact, like when I ask other realtors, they're like, "I'm not so this, you normally ask a realtor, like, what do you do when someone says, well, Zillow says? So I do a huge eye roll, right? And then I think in my head, what an idiot. Isn't that what you guys think as realtors? Yes, that's what we think as realtors, right? So Texas is a right to privacy state. What does that mean? The sales prices are not recorded. The amount that was financed and who owns the property, right? The promissory note, the deed, and the deed of trust, that is recorded. But those documents do not say what the property sold for. The only place that has that information is the MLS, right? Now, does Zillow really have access? Probably, right? I'm not going to try and fool myself here. I think that they don't. But the information you get from Zillow and all these other places, it's directional. Okay? But it might be off by 10%. What's your profit on a typical buy, fix, and flip deal? It might only be 10 to 15%. If your ARV is off by 10%, then 10% of your profit went to the Zillow Idiots Fund. Right? Get an investor-friendly realtor on your power team. That's the only way you will be successful as a real estate investor. Now, you do not have to be the investor and the investor-friendly. You don't have to be all those things. You just need to get somebody on your team who is. Step 4, make the offer over the phone. So you should have, if you have an investor-friendly realtor on your team, be able to get a quick CMA. As you go through and ask when was the last time, you should be able to figure out how much updating the property needs, how much remodel the property needs. How do you make an offer? What do you say when you want to make an offer, when you get all this information?
Well, 2 things. You can ask them what is the price they have in mind, and the second is, will you be willing to accept something like this to just anchor them?
Always start with what they want. Always ask them what they want. Why is that?
It might be low enough, but it might be just the perfect number.
We got that as we went through the seller interview. Yeah, but when you're ready to make an offer, you will always want to ask them first, what are you thinking about?
That price might work for you.
You don't want to
Like-
offer more than.
99 times out of 100, they're going to tell you way more
Oh.
than what you want to pay. But one time out of 100, they're going to tell you something that is lower than what you want to pay. When you are ready to offer 150, but they say, I was thinking, I don't know, 140, what do you say?
130.
Now?
Yeah, I'll give you 130.
He's figured it out.
The way you said that was awesome. Let me give you a little tip. For somebody who cannot pull it off like Carmel, okay? You say this. Write this down. You like that, right? Why do you say that?
Gotta give him 120.
No, why do you say that?
Just make it seem like it's you know the deal. It's
more
not
than
that good of a
enough.
deal that they're giving you, even though you
No,
know what it is.
it's all psychological.
You want them
If
to.
you jump on that, what do they think?
They can get more
Sell it more.
more. Yeah.
I should ask for more. And then are they gonna turn around and ask you for more?
Yes.
No.
Somebody else is going to call.
What are they going to do? They're going to ghost you,
Yeah.
okay? Because they don't have the guts, they don't have the courage to say, no, they just want to go and call somebody else and try a higher number, right? But psychologically, have you met their checkbox when you say,
What are you talking
have you?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you have. Oh, yes, you have, right? This will happen one time out of 100. I just want to set you guys up for what to do when that magic moment happens. Okay? If you're on the phone, you can do the happy dance. If you're in person, no dance. Okay? All right. Let's see. Meet with the seller at the house. So you're over the phone. You went through all the questions. You get to the house, and what do you find? You find that it's exactly as they described it, right? It's, Joel, it's livable to someone, right? You get to the house and what happens? You realize you forgot to ask 2 more questions. What are those 2 questions you forgot to ask?
Do you have a mortgage?
No, we already got past that
Yeah,
one with the
okay.
seller interview. What did we forget to ask when we were asking
Are
about
you the only decision maker in the
repairs? Nope, we asked that when we went through the seller interview first. What did we forget to ask when we were talking about the
Are we gonna
repairs?
get that seller interview document
Yeah.
somewhere?
Maybe.
Okay, cool.
Great. Because it seems we're forgetting a lot of questions.
Carlos.
Well, it seems like we're forgetting all those questions.
Oh, you in a hurry? Is that why you're looking at your watch?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm here to learn.
I don't know that it feels like that, Carlos. I don't know if we're gonna be able to be friends after this. But you get there and you realize you forgot 2 questions. Do you have any pets?
Oh.
Does that change everything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends how many cats.
But don't you want to know?
Yes, of course.
Yes, you do. What's the other question you forgot to ask?
Do they live inside?
What?
Do you have any,
Children?
the other pets? You know, Carlos, what's fun, so interesting about you is, you're not taking a single note.
I'm not taking a single note. No.
And you know what? Have you guys picked up a couple good things?
Yeah.
You must have a, what do you call it? What kind of?
He have a good memory.
He does. Do you know this guy?
Yes,
Can
yes,
you vouch for this guy?
yes.
We'll do a pop quiz later.
Oh, shoot. Right.
You better go knock it down.
You may have to make an adjustment to your repairs, which means you may have to make an adjustment to your offer, okay? Sometimes that happens on the spot. The reason why I now ask, do you have any pets and do you have any children, in a very nice way, okay, is because I've gone to a property where someone said to me, oh, I just updated the kitchen, oh, I just updated the flooring, oh, I just updated all these different things, and I thought, man, well first I thought on the phone, this never happens, but I'm so excited about it. And I make an offer over the phone, I get there and I find that they basically have a pound inside of their home, okay? Yes, and there's and the floors, the brand new floors ruined, the brand new carpet ruined, the brand new paint ruined. They're running a pound inside their home without enough staff. I'll say that, right? So you may have to adjust the contract on the spot. For me, I like to send it in either DocuSign or HelloSign. As a realtor, I've been using DocuSign for the last 10 years, but another one of my realtor colleagues introduced me to something called HelloSign. Do you know HelloSign? Oh, this is good. So you didn't join your friends writing it down. So HelloSign is even better because when you use HelloSign, everywhere it's marked for an initial or a signature, HelloSign says, hey, we'd like to save you a little bit of time. Would it be okay with you if I just went through and initialed and signatured every place that it wants you to? Oh yeah, right? Because even in DocuSign, you have to next and click and next and click and next and click. And what does that give them the opportunity to do? Read the contract. But with HelloSign, there's oh no, yes, I would like to save 2.5 minutes in my day so I can answer calls from me later on, right? So you'll use the track 1 to 4 family contract as you go through. You'll take that contract over to the title company and let them know that it will be assigned. The earnest money goes to the title company, the option money goes to the seller. We'll market the property to other buyers. Where do you find buyers to be able to market that property to?
Yahoo Group.
Here, yes, as part of the association, many other places as well. When you market it, you need to give them the stats. You need to give them the ARV, what that property will reasonably sell for once it is fixed up. You'll want to give them the repairs that are going to be required to fix it up to that level. You'll also want to give them the rents. Why do you want to give them the rents? Because not everybody wants to buy, fix, and flip. Many people want to buy and hold for the long term. So they want to know, okay, what does it look like over there in terms of cash flow? You'll also give them your assignment fee in the price. I've had many brand new investors who didn't write anything down because they had a photographic memory, but then sometimes forgot to include their assignment fee in the price to me. So what did that mean? No, but I'm getting annoyed, and I'm gonna think you're
Taking that off,
right? Yes, I'm gonna think you're an idiot if you're not telling me that, if you're waiting till the end, what do you mean you want $10,000? That's, now my numbers don't work anymore. My numbers work in the original offer, so it's embarrassing that I have to put this up there, but I just don't want any of you guys to make that mistake as we go through.
Question on the repairs, I'm sorry to ask, but
That's okay.
when you're starting, should you take a contractor with you to help you estimate the repairs when you're new to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because you have a friend who is a realtor, you may want to bring that contractor with you to some of the other comps that are in the neighborhood, so that contractor can go through and say, okay, yeah, now I see what I need to do. So you're gonna look at maybe 30 comps in the neighborhood, and you'll pick out of that 30, maybe 3 of the comps, and these are the prime comps. This is what this house has to look like when it's done. In order to get the price that I want, you'll take that contractor through and, okay, let's look at the wiring, let's look at the air conditioning system, let's look at all these different components, and then you'll go back over to your place and you'll say, yeah, what do we need to do to make this look like this? You will want to have a full scope of work. Many contractors want to give you a bid that basically says, fix house, $50,000, half due, now would be good, right? Is that roughly right?
Yeah.
Yes. You want that full scope of work to make sure that you have captured everything. Because as a real estate investor, and I know this topic is specifically wholesaling, but as a real estate investor that's buying from a wholesaler, You will live or you will die based on that scope of work and based on how comprehensive that scope of work is. I'm going to give you guys a tip right now. For every $10,000 that you spend, and it's in your budget, so for example, if you have a $50,000 budget, you should have at least 5 pages in your scope of work. So for every $10,000, it's a 1 page with the scope of work. You're getting into as much detail as you possibly can. Sherwin-Williams SW6126 on the flat paint on the walls of this room, this paint on this, get detailed. Because the second that you leave something off is the second that you and your contractor will have some sort of a disagreement that will in many cases result in you paying more than what you thought you should have paid, okay? So make sure you have a great scope of work. It's a great idea to take a contractor through. It's much easier to wholesale your deal, okay? It's much easier to wholesale your deal if you bring them that scope of work so they can say, oh yeah, no, you're right, it means all this stuff, right? So what you have done is you have taken away something that might stop them, like for someone who might be a newer investor who's buying from a wholesaler, they may not know, well, how much is it going to cost to do all this stuff? Oh, I got you, it's right here. What does that make it easier for them to do? Make a decision, right? Purchase your property. When you meet these end buyers that you find from here or wherever, you can either meet them, you can send them with a combo code. We use a combo code on the properties that are not occupied so that we can send people in. Because if you've experienced traffic in Austin, Texas, you know that you want to get out there as little as possible, right? So sending a buyer directly there on a vacant house is perfect. Now, when you put this property, when you introduce other investors to this property, you want to make sure and protect yourself. So number one thing that you need to do to protect yourself is to put it under contract. Sounds obvious, right? But I have seen people who have tried to sell properties that they did not actually have under contract, wholesale properties they didn't have under contract. So what did that open them up for? Some investor going around them. Now, as realtors, we have something called a code of ethics, right? As real estate investors, we have like the code of pirates.
Your husband just taught us how to cheat. That's not good.
No, I didn't say cut anybody out. No, nothing like that. Cheat to get ahead or in a way they're no victimless crime, right? Guys, is anybody in here still have their buzzer has not been yet called out for membership? Any buzzers still in the room? So Brittany's back there. She's doing a last call for membership. So if you'd like to join us in membership, go ahead and get signed up with her now. Otherwise, she's closing on the membership table. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. As real estate investors, there is no code of ethics, right? Which is, yeah. So it is what it is. So there are two or three things you can do. Again, number one thing, just the basics. Just have it under contract before you shop it to anybody else. Number two, have the person you're wholesaling it to sign a non-circumvent agreement. Non-circumvent agreement is effectively like a realtor's listing agreement where you have a protection period in that listing agreement, which basically says if you sell this property to anyone who I've shown the property to over the next 30 or 60 days, whatever is in the protection period, guess what? You owe me a fee, right? Same thing as in a non-circumvent agreement. Well, what is even better than having it under contract? What is even better than having a non-circumvent agreement when you're shopping it to another investor? You've got the stick, you've got the non-circumvent agreement. What is the carrot that you have? What's the carrot that you have?
Relationship?
Relationship? How do you build a relationship? Trust. How do you build a relationship?
By getting to know people.
Getting to know all these wonderful, beautiful things you guys speak of.
I'm not saying that having a relationship is enough, but it helps.
In order for you and I to have a relationship, don't I need to have something that you want, and don't you need to have something that I want?
Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
You want to sell your house, I want to buy it.
It's a win-win. So if I tell you this is the only deal that I've been able to get over the last 6 months, what are you just telling that person? Versus if I told you this, here's my carrot. If you like this property, I've got 3 others lined up for closing over the next 3 months. What do I have? I have something that you want very much. What's the likelihood that you would circumvent me with that carrot? Very low. So you have a carrot, all these other properties, you have a stick to non-circumvent. Yes, yes? All right.
Should you ask the buyer to have them put the earnest money? So it's a commitment.
Your earnest money will be replaced by their earnest money.
Oh,
You will take your earnest money to the title company within just a few days
Correct.
of you getting it under contract.
You were saying that you put a lot of locks on properties that are vacant.
Yes.
So when you get a property under contract, you get a key from them.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get a key before you close.
Yes. Yes. If it's vacant, and let's say they're living in South Austin and properties in North Austin, do you think they want to come back over there? No.
If you're a wholesaler and you're not doing the improvements yourself, do you have to, do you end up burning through contractors because they start figuring out, hey, you're not gonna ever pay me, all you're gonna do is use my work to market your property?
Well, yes and no. Some contractors will not go out to a property unless you have it under contract. In this case, yes, you have it under contract, right? So there's an opportunity for them. Now, would you want that contractor who's doing the bid to do the work for the person who you ultimately sell that property to? Yes, yeah. Are you gonna push them and recommend them? 100%, yes. Yeah, yeah. Now, I will say contractors, they all have expiration dates. Is that fair to say? Okay.
At any point in a wholesale, is there a formal inspection? By the buyer, by the wholesaler?
If you would like, absolutely. During your option period, you have the right to come in and inspect, 100%. All right, so to be clear, when you are assigning this contract, this is really important, so this came up in the 2017 legislative session. They clarified wholesaling and making sure that you're not acting like a realtor, okay? And basically what they said is when you are wholesaling a property, you have to tell someone, not just I'm wholesaling this property, but instead, I'm selling a contract, okay? You're selling something called the equitable interest in the property. If you do not say that, then what are you acting like? A realtor. An unlicensed realtor, which comes with a $5,000 fine from TREC, okay? So to be clear, and there are people out there, TREC and others, who are trying to find people who are acting like unlicensed agents. So be clear, you're not selling a property, you're selling your equitable interest. You're selling your contract. Another item that you have to disclose is, and this sounds redundant, but you have to disclose it. You have to disclose that you do not own that property.
What form, is there a form that readily available, or do you just?
TREC does not make
Yeah.
an assignment form, unfortunately. Now, I said don't use the one-page contract on the internet for putting a property under contract. But for an assignment agreement, there are usually several decent 1 to 2 page contracts that are out there. No, TREC does not make something so that you guys can go out and do this, sorry.
Understood.
But it's very straightforward. And the only issue is a lot of the assignment contracts that are out there, they're not in states that have the same laws that we have with regards to selling equitable interest, with regards to disclosure that you do not own the property. So you need to make sure that your assignment agreement has that in there. This is a sample one, right? So it says who owns the property, who they're wholesaling it to, who the owner is, what the legal description is, what the address is, the amount of the assignment fee, the amount of the purchase price, and the amount that the seller originally agreed to sell the property to the original owner. Initials, signatures, again, do not own, again, assigning the contract. Pardon me, assigning the equitable interest. So you will substitute your name on the agreement or on the contract with the seller for the end buyer's name, or you can do a simultaneous close. Most people want to do a single close because a closing usually costs anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000, okay? When is the only time that you are going to do a double close?
When you have a large profit.
When
Extremely
the
large profit.
adjective in front of the amount of money that you are making is something like obscene, okay? Will you buy a $2,000 or $3,000 insurance policy to protect your obscene amount of profits? The answer is yes. So what do you consider obscene? Obscene means different amounts to different people, right? Most people will do a single closing, a straight assignment, if they're making less than $10,000. Most people will do a double close if they're making more than $20,000. Everything in between is kind of up to you. If you are someone who goes to Vegas and plays the nickel slots, guess what? Any dollar that you make over $10,000, you're going to do a double close. If you're someone who goes to Vegas and plays blackjack, guess what? You may put it on anything and everything on a single close. That's a personal choice there.
Is that your concern, the buyer who might get upset or the seller who might get upset?
So it's a blind closing disclosure. So the seller sees the seller side, the buyer sees the buyer side. Somebody's got to know how much you are making. You got to tell somebody, unless you do a double close. If you do a double close, seller doesn't know you're reselling it, buyer doesn't know what you bought it for. Okay? But it is already the way that they, so it used to be a HUD-1 settlement statement, and on most HUD-1 settlement statements, it was all disclosed to everyone, and you have to specifically ask the title company to do a blind HUD, so one person sees just their side, buyer sees just their side, seller just sees their side. Now it's just how it's done. Yeah?
So most title companies are doing it that way now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And if yours is not, ask them, blind settlement statement, blind closing statement, yeah. Send your revised contract to the title company with your invoice. You will not get paid from the title company unless you have an invoice. They are great paper pushers, but you have to give them paper to actually push. I have seen investors, very sadly, not get paid because they never sent an invoice and the buyer closed without paying them, which is not good. Get paid on the closing disclosure, cash the check, do it over and over again. And now I'm going to break down some of the key points I want to go over for the next couple of minutes here, guys. So give me a second. Let's see here. Offer formula. So we talked a little bit about the offer formula. Did we talk about the offer formula?
Not yet.
70% of ARV minus repairs is how much we offer whenever we are buying, fixing, and flipping. So if you are wholesaling to someone who is buying, fixing, and flipping, then you'll want to even offer less than that 70% of ARV minus repairs. You will offer less by the amount of your wholesale fee. Now, if you are assigning that property to someone who's maybe a buy and hold investor, who might be willing to pay 80% or 85% or 90% of your ARV minus repairs, guess what? You can afford to offer that seller a little more, or just if you just get it for as low as you can get it, right? But this is the formula that we commonly use and have used over the years. Let's see. Again, papering up the deal. You'll want to use the standard state contract. That contract is the best way to be able to do that. And for your assignment fee, you'll find one online. Just make sure it includes the disclosures that we talked about to make sure you protect yourself as a real estate investor. And guys, in conclusion, the truth about wholesaling is it's fun and sometimes easy. It's a great way to do networking, great way to get started, and there's not a lot of risk. It's all reward, but the truth is that you've probably never heard of The Millionaire Wholesaler, right? You probably never read that book because it has not been published, because there is not one. Usually wholesalers, if they become good at it, they'll make enough money to start doing other strategies. For example, one of the most profitable ones, buy, fix, and flip. And that's how they'll move forward in their real estate investing career. So guys, I hope this was helpful to you guys, and that's the end of the presentation tonight. So we'll see you at the next meeting for our